Coming up on TekThing, replacing Picasa, text messages that kill Android, date settings that kill iOS, how to try a new camera before you buy it, external optical drives, and cooking. All coming up on TekThing. TekThing is made possible by viewers like you that donate via patreon.com/TekThing. If you get something useful out of this episode, please consider contributing. Thank you so much.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Pat Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we make technology behave.
At least on the good days.
I hope it's a good day.
It is a good day.
Good.
Okay, Mattel's ThingMaker.
ThingMaker.
ThingMaker. You probably remember.
I feel like I remember this from my childhood.
Does this look familiar?
Oh, I know what that is. That's the creepy crawlers.
Yeah, basically, it was like well, okay, this is what, back in the 60s, it looked like this.
Oh,
I think is when
wow.
it first came out, right? There's a hot plate
That looks
and
dangerous.
molds. Yeah, and plastic goop. Well, it was, this is that with an enclosure to keep you from burning yourself. Like this is essentially a hot plate, for the kids. And you would make crazy little designs. They had dozens and dozens of like you could make your chimpanzee Tarzan
That's
doll.
so weird.
Yeah, it's all,
The plastic smelled terrible. I remember building creepy crawlers in like the 80s and 90s.
Fake
and they
monster
smelled
teeth.
Horrible.
But it was an idea, right? So
It was.
you would actually, look at this. It had all these little molds. You could make things in the comfort of your own kitchen table, garage, home, wherever your parents would let you operate this thing. So it's now back, but this time it's a $300 3D printer. You can pre-order right now on Amazon. The makers of Barbie and Hot Wheels have taken the 1960s toy and brought it into the 21st century. What really I think is interesting is that they worked together with Autodesk. Mattel and Autodesk got together to do the ThingMaker software, which I look at this, I think it's either going to totally help mainstream 3D printing, or it's going to shove it straight back into the garage. So hard it's going to hit the far side of your making garage and land back in the middle.
And you got the app too?
I downloaded the app.
What is the app?
The app has a very sort of Autodesk-y kind of DIY consumer feel. So it's actually a whole bunch of different designs, which presumably you'll be able to print out this fall when the printer actually ships.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there's a necklace.
Oh, wonderful.
I
actually had a lot of fun with the bugs.
Oh, there's rings. Oh, there's a skull ring.
Ooh, okay, that's cool. I could get on board with that. Patrick, it's
Shannon.
a very, very sad day for many people.
Why?
Because Google just announced that they're getting rid of Picasa. They're no longer going to be supporting it. You can still download it until they choose to not let you download it anymore, but we got several emails from people asking for alternatives because Picasa is no longer going to be supported. They gave users the ability to add geolocation tags, comments, organization, other metadata that you could add in yourself. So a lot of users are really hesitant to go over to Google Photos.
Big bulk photo processing tool. Well, Google Photos is really cool in a lot of ways, right?
It's cool because it lets you upload and it's cloud supported, unlimited for your high resolution photos. That's awesome.
Some pretty cool sort of image searching
Yeah,
stuff.
but it has a lot of drawbacks too because it doesn't let you do all that metadata processing and stuff like that.
I sense, well, it does allow you to edit one metadata tag, but we'll get to that
Yeah,
in a minute.
so I decided that I should give you guys a rundown of some different alternatives depending on what operating system you use and a few that are cross-platform. So first off, I wanted to direct you over to Google Photos. So of course, this is the one that a lot of people are a little hesitant about.
It's free.
Photos.google.com. When you actually start uploading to it, that's basically what it looks like. Yay, Valentine's Day, shooting guns. So it's not very organized. It's organized by date, generally. You can customize that, but otherwise it's not very customizable. They do have a desktop and a mobile platform too.
Right.
So both of those will let you sync together, and it is unlimited for high quality photo storage, but it's not very good with the organization.
Yeah, it's kind of like pull back up because what it does is it does a lot of face search and stuff like that. If you take a look at the shots, right? So look, all of the roses together, and the faces are together. They like, oh, dude with a gun, Shannon with a gun.
Yeah, so I could search for a certain person. Oh, look, that's a famous celebrity. Yay. What is she doing there?
I don't know, but apparently you have a picture of her.
Apparently I do.
And the whole high quality, the whole unlimited storage thing, if your high quality photos are under 16 megapixel, you're fine. If they're bigger than that, they'll be downsized to 16 megapixels.
Yeah.
But the big thing about Google Photo, if your metadata isn't perfect before you upload, you pretty much can only change one thing in the future.
Yeah, so they have the search functionality, all that good stuff. They let you edit and share photos pretty easily, but it doesn't have that metadata editing capability. You can really only edit like the filters on your pictures and then the date and a description. Yeah. And that's about it.
Oh, so there's two things you can edit.
Yeah, date and description, but not like the camera it was taken with, not the lens type, not the geolocation information. So a lot of stuff is missing that people really appreciated with Picasa. So second off, we have another one called Flickr. I'm sure you guys have heard of this.
Timeless.
Oh yeah. So Flickr is a Yahoo-owned company. I can take it over to mine.
It's been around forever. You get a terabyte of free storage.
There we go. Yeah, terabyte of free storage. It's a great organization tool. They do have an uploader available, which you can install with a little button down at the bottom. It says beta, but it's been around forever. And you can edit some of the metadata as well. Now, the uploader tool, it's very fast. It's very easy. However, all of the organization and editing is done up in the cloud. It's not local. So if you change anything locally, that's not necessarily going to be uploaded. And if you do it in the cloud, it's not necessarily going to change what you have.
So it doesn't sync everything?
No.
Ew.
Yeah, it's just up in the cloud, like on their Flickr website. But they do have tons of storage, so you might want to do that.
Okay, how about options for your local computer or the photos you store in your NAS, or if you just don't want your photos on the internet, period, yo?
That's an awesome question. So you can also try this one called Windows Live Photo Gallery, and I believe I have the link. Yep, here it is. So Windows Live Photo Gallery. This one lets you edit your photos locally, order them and organize them locally, and store them locally. So it's all completely local. However, you can sync across multiple devices if you have Windows devices. So that one can be very useful if you're a Windows user. If you're a OS user, there's Photos. So this one's primarily for Mac, however, it can sync to PCs as well, so you can view your items on PC, but it will not let you do all the convenient editing and things of that nature. But it's very clean and crisp.
For Mac.
Yeah, a lot of people like Photos for Mac. If you use Macs, those are probably the best choice for you locally. They do upload as well to the cloud. For, I believe it's called iCloud. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't use Macs.
That's the one that's famous for all the celebrity photos being taken.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You are correct, sir.
Yeah, I brought it up. What about Linux?
Linux, so there's one called Shotwell, and this one's for GNOME Linux desktops. This one looks, well, the website's not super fancy or anything, but it's also operating system specifically for Linux desktops. This one's cool because it lets you do raw photo editing. You can change different tags and keywords. You can do folders, so organization. And you can also share to a lot of major services directly from the app as well. So that's very, very useful for a lot of people. If you are interested in desktop applications, of course, you can use all of those to organize locally, and some of them upload to the cloud. But if you want an alternative, there's also this one called Zoner Photo Studio. So Zoner Photo Studio looks to be a pretty sweet deal. It's free, which is awesome. However, it does come with all the general features that you would need for photo organization, editing, uploading. If you want to buy the pro version, though, that one's $99.
Well, and it obviously owes a certain debt to a certain, Apple tool that is very popular with professional photographers in terms of its design and stuff.
Yeah, it does. So the $99 one, that lets you do geotagging. There's a few additional editing tools. There's some development tools that you can add on to it. So it's like additional plugins, but you can get by just fine with the free one. Lastly, and some people will say, no, it's way too much. And I agree it is for most people, but I'm going to mention it anyway, because personally, I've grown to really like it. Lastly, I want to recommend Adobe Lightroom 6. So even though I absolutely hate their membership monthly plans, because you can get this for $9.99 per month with Creative Cloud. You really can't beat this tool as far as it goes for editing software for professionals when it comes to like Lightroom type software.
This isn't the standard Photoshop. This is the crazy. The Adobe people realized that not only did photographers need to edit their photos, but they needed to manage the gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of photos that were generated.
Yeah, exactly. So you can buy this one for $150 online, just straight deal, and then you get to stick with that version of it. So I have Lightroom 6, which I guess is the newest one. But I got it for free with a camera purchase on Black Friday. So keep an eye out for deals because they're constantly doing that kind of stuff. It's always good to check on deals. You can create local collections of organized photos. You can create, you can edit raw photos. You can edit JPEGs. You can change the metadata, add a watermark if you're inclined. You can even upload directly to an HTML5 website of your choosing via FTP. And there are plugins too. There's plugins for Facebook, Flickr, ZenPhoto, Twitter, SmugMug, Shutterfly, the one that lets you create like physical albums. So this is obviously a huge investment if you wanted to go with Lightroom. I wouldn't do it for regular photography, but if you're a photo enthusiast or if you're a professional, I would definitely use it for that stuff. And I use it for work, so for me, it works out quite well.
I want to give a shout out to some other ones. Faststone.
Faststone!
XNView.
How could I forget Faststone?
EarphinView. EarphinView has been around, I think, since 1998.
Cool.
It was the first time I ever was introduced to the idea of managing photos in bulk and editing photos in bulk. These were all kind of like, Faststone, XNView, and EarphinView were all kind of the Zoner before Zoner existed. So there are a ton of options out there. These are all local desktop-based applications that and especially in the case of EarphinView, I've been using forever. A lot of people like Faststoner's update as an update to EarphinView, and XNView is another option. There are so many options there, and we know a lot of you are huge photography enthusiasts. So do us a favor, if you have a photo management tool or website you think we should tell everybody about, let us know. Please email us, ask@tekthing.com. And please, be gentle to the people migrating off Picasa. They've been emotionally scarred enough this week. In a slightly different universe, I'm an executive producer that doesn't make video anymore, but runs spreadsheets and budgets for a team that creates link-baity trash to chase ad dollars. Yeah, laugh while you can. Instead, there's patreon.com/TekThing, where you directly support TekThing so Shannon and I can make it our job. Crowdfunding is cool. It means we get to focus on making great content for you, our viewers. Our patrons get access to our special patron-only build videos and early heads up on what's coming and more. Go check out patreon.com/TekThing. And thank you so much for supporting the show. And no matter how you do it, send us your questions, your tips, write a review on iTunes, give our video the thumbs up, share the link with your friends. It all makes the show stronger so we can keep making technology more awesome for everyone. Shannon, rocking the guns. Wouldn't be possible without patreon.com/TekThing.
3 questions answered, 3 reviews, 3 picks, all in 3 minutes. This week's rapid fire roundup is 2 nasty hacks and a chip update. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
Go.
Oh my goodness. Do not set your iOS device to May 1st, 1970 or earlier. It will not, despite rumors online, unlock a retro Apple theme. Nope, it'll brick your phone in an endless boot loop from hell. Apple themselves say right here, if you change the date to May 1970 or earlier, you can't restart your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch. Well, look, the problem is legit. They have a patch coming in a future iOS update, and if your phone is already bricked, contact Apple's tech support. Yo!
Okay. By the way, I should mention, don't connect to wireless networks that you're not familiar with, because apparently it can work over Wi-Fi too.
Hate that. Hate that.
Sorry.
And before all the Android users in the audience spend too much time pointing at the nearest iPhone and snickering, Gizmodo says, beware of this Android malware that erases your phone with a single text message. Yeah. How's that sound, kids? They're actually quoting a really lovely article up on the BBC. The Mazar malware can wipe phones being spread by SMS. Discovered by the Heimdall Group, Danish security firm. They believe that this has already been forwarded to over 100,000 phones in Denmark, disguised as a link to basically a multimedia message. The link downloads Tor software, which is used to download the malware, which could erase your phone, monitor the phone, use the phone to dial ridiculous pay-per-minute phone lines, unless, you'll like this part. You'll like this part. It doesn't install if the phone is set to Russian as the default language. Yeah.
Oh, so I just need to change my phone to Russian.
Right. And you're safe. Don't click on strange text messages.
Right. Yeah. And number 3.
Oh boy. By the way, your fancy new chip-enabled debit card, I got one. The ones that the U.S. was last to adopt, the ones that started showing up when banks said merchants will be liable for 100% of fraud if you had a chip card. But the merchant didn't have their chip service turned on. Krebs on security quotes Visa CEO Charles W. Scharf in an earnings call late last month. More than 750,000 locations have their chip processing turned on. That's 17% of the U.S. face-to-face card accepting merchant base.
Wow.
That's Yeah, basically they're now enabled in handling chip-based transactions, or the European MasterCard and Visa payment standard.
Europay.
Europay. Basically, less than 1 in 5 stores actually have it turned on. So it's interesting, right? You won't be liable for any losses, but it can still be an incredible pain in the ass. And apparently many merchants, Krebs is writing, are avoiding turning it on because of the delay in processing it causes. If you've used one of the chip readers, it's like 10 to 15 seconds per card minimum, assuming there's not confusion on the part of the cashier and or the end user. Apparently a lot of the point of sale systems that run the cash registers aren't ready to use it, or because they simply aren't worried about fraud. Well, okay. Yeah, Visa expects 50% of the merchandisers to be using chip by the end of the year. And I'm okay with that as long as I don't have to get my 4th debit card in 2 years. Thanks, Home Depot. Thanks, Target.
You know what? I'm excited for everybody to change it to chip and PIN instead of chip and signature, because chip and signature is not necessarily secure, while having chip and PIN is. Come on, United States, get with the times.
It's the 21st century, people. We even have 3D printers in toy stores now, or will this fall?
You guys can always check out all of our security news over at ThreatWire, which both Patrick Norton and myself do. It's over at patreon.com/ThreatWire and threatwire.net, I believe. It's at hack5, hak5.org.
We make the show.
And you can always send your pics to ask@tekthing.com.
Lucas writes, greeting fellow awesome humans. I have recently been binge watching TekThing, which by now is way more episodes than Carl binged. Not that it's a competition or anything, and thoroughly enjoyed every single episode. Awesome. However, I am now stricken with oodles and oodles of questions, so I've finally narrowed it down to the following. Is there an economically viable way to try out mirrorless cameras? I appreciate all the advice from Lori Grunin. She is awesome. Yes, she is. And learned so much from that particular episode. However, I have found myself wanting to utilize different styles of cameras in my own environment in order to see what would work best for myself. Is there a way to get my hands on, say, a Sony a6000 or a6300? Try before I buy. As you may have noticed, I am looking for a higher-end consumer model, but do not want to spend $1,000 plus before I know exactly what I would be dealing with. I greatly appreciate your time and consideration regarding said question. Sincerely, a fellow TekThinger. Also, I have no friends, so borrowing a camera will not work. Lucas.
Aww, I'm sure you have friends. Maybe they just don't have cameras. Oh my gosh, that's sad. I'll be your friend.
We'll be your friend.
So unless you do camera reviews, not many manufacturers are actually going to send you a camera without paying for it first. But many online retailers will let you purchase a camera and then use it and then return it for full price if you're not satisfied, as long as it's in tip-top perfect shape, the same shape that you got it in. Autorama and Amazon both have great return policies, and the Sony cameras that you mentioned are pretty inexpensive now, so you could definitely purchase them online. Otherwise, another great idea, I would suggest dropping by a local camera shop that lets you rent cameras, because many companies allow for like week-long, so for a vacation or something, or just day-long if you need to rent it for your business or something. They let you rent with lenses at a great price, so you would be able to take it home to your environment, test it out, and both options require a small upfront cost, well, especially the purchasing one, but they are less than just paying for a camera you might not like in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like renting lenses is a long-standing tradition for prosumer and professional photographers. If you've never seen them, check out borrowlenses.com is really, really cool, and Lens Pro to go. I'm sure there are others. Feel free to email or tweet those
so you
at
wouldn't
us.
even have to go to a local shop anymore.
Well, what's crazy is like they've done like, you know, for, okay, let's say your landscape photography, they have landscape packages, and
that's awesome.
They collection of all the lenses and stuff you need. Well, it turns out most of these places have actually started renting cameras. So, for example, if I go to borrowlenses.com and click down here, they have, there's an a6000 mirrorless digital camera you can rent for $29. And hey, look, Lens Pro to go does the same thing, although they have concentrating on more of the high-end stuff. But there are options. I'm sure there are other sites out there to do similar stuff. Those are just a couple that I know about. Something worth considering.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the old school, awesome, amazing experts behind the counter photography shops just don't exist anymore, or they are a long-ass haul to the big city in your state.
Long haul.
Long haul.
Nobody wants to go up to New York, especially if you're living in California.
Well, in California, you go to LA or San Francisco.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if that rental shop's still around. Anyway, we got a Twitter message from Caffeine-Free Dave, who says, oh man, I need to add optical drive to my Windows 10 laptop to rip music CDs. Do I just plug into USB and go, or is there more to it?
Oddly enough, it's pretty much that easy, but the answer is still yes and no. I actually, well, you laugh, right? But
that's a great answer, Patrick.
the answer is definitely, decidedly yes and no. So this is LG Electronics 8X USB 2.0 Super Multi Ultra Sims Portable DVD plus minus RW external drive.
Woo!
Can you put more descriptions? This is a $23 external DVD writer. If you want a Blu-ray reader, it's probably going to cost you like $85.
Okay.
And yes, just plugging in an external USB drive into your Windows machine will attach it to your operating system and you're good to go. But you are going to need ripping software like DB PowerAmp, Exact Audio Copy, or iTunes, for example. I personally use DB PowerAmp. If you have an old 5 1/4 inch optical drive laying around, you can buy an external enclosure. Unfortunately, for example, Vantech makes a pretty good one. Even on Amazon.com, it's like $36, which means it costs almost half again as much as a dedicated enclosure and does not come in the fancy gold option.
Oh, but I want the fancy gold option.
White, silver, gold, black, they have all the options there. But yeah, super simple, USB, plug it in your machine, you're good to go. And if you do want to rip CDs or DVDs or Blu-ray drives, you probably are gonna need some kind of external device. A lot of new systems don't include optical drives. And a lot of new cases don't even have space in them for optical drives.
Mine does. It was a Corsair case. It's awesome.
The last two I've built actually don't have
oh yeah,
optical drive.
Well, you did the little mini ones, right?
Yeah.
The AT. Oh yeah. Well, duh.
But of course, I have a case that has 8 optical drives inside of it because I'm a freak. Hope that helps you out, caffeine-free Dave.
We got an email from Deborah who asks, Shannon and Patrick, I appreciated the reminder that Sennheiser makes great headphones, but $400 isn't in my budget. Could you give a rundown of microphones, headphones, etc. for setting up a decent podcasting environment? It doesn't have to rival the Hack 5 warehouse. I see a lot of folks using what looks to be Heil microphones. Are they worth the expense of the mic and everything that goes with it, the stand, pop screen, etc.? From Deborah in Greater Cincinnati.
Okay, first of all, Deborah, I should point out that that was not a guide to podcasting gear. It was a question. People see me using that rig, and I just answered the question. The Heil PR40s you see all over the world of podcasting are outstanding, but this microphone alone is going to cost you about $320, and you're still going to need a USB mixer to set levels and get you from the XLR jack on the back of the microphone to the USB bus on your computer.
Yeah.
The upside is there are a lot of inexpensive options out there. For example, Sweetwater, which is a lot like Guitar Center, of course, I'm now on the $2,000 page, but if you go into the sort of $100 to $200 range, you see a ton of Behringer boards that allow you to basically bring in multiple XLR inputs and adjust the levels, and they'll do a USB output. Alesis makes a pretty good one. I use a Focusrite personally, which has been really, really fantastic. If you're only dealing with a single microphone, something like Shure's X2U to XLR USB signal adapter is really, really nice. Those sell anywhere from $50 to $100. And while we're talking about Shure, a really, really nice microphone option is the SM58. They are the sort of classic on-stage bomb-proof microphone. They're not as directional as the Heil. They're more omnidirectional, but you can pick them up for under $100. I've seen them as little as $50 used, and they last forever. That said, Shannon's got an even more affordable option. And by the way, as far as everything that goes with the stand, the pop screen, and all that stuff, you're going to want a stand for almost any kind of mic you don't wear on your head. And whether or not you need a pop screen is going to be pretty evident after you start recording, or I should say when you start listening to your first recording.
That's more of an accessory. You don't necessarily need it for every single microphone. For example, I don't use it for my setup, but I do have a stand for mine. So we could probably do a whole episode on podcast setups, and actually that would be really fun since we're both very obsessed with this kind of stuff.
But it's also not just, a lot of the stuff that make podcasts sound good, make Skype sound better, make any kind of thing where you're talking near your computer, everything that works for podcasts tends to also work for that.
Yeah, so the most important part I would say is audio, of course, and then video after that. So Heil mics are epic in terms of podcasting, but you don't need to get that expense to get really good audio that's good enough for online shows. So for example, I use the Blue Microphones Yeti USB microphone. It comes in silver or black, and it does come with a stand, and it has a mute button right on the top of it. It's very, very useful, and it's only $114 right now. I've seen it as little as around $99.
Right.
Of course, that varies on Amazon all the time.
The mic, the stand, and the USB adapter,
Yep.
so you don't need any of the external things on that.
Yeah, and then for webcams, if you're interested in webcams, you can always get the Logitech HD Pro Webcam C920. It's in 1080p, it's widescreen, does video calling. There's a built-in mic, but I wouldn't recommend using the built-in mic.
Right.
I'd recommend using a separate one. It's only $50, so it's a really good one to start you off on Skype, for example, or even Hangouts. And lastly, I wanted to mention what kind of headset I've been using. I have a wireless version of this one. It's a little bit older, but this is their newer one, and it actually costs less. The Corsair Vengeance 1500, they make really good headsets. They're for gaming, but you can also use these for Skype calls. Of course, that might be overkill. You might want to go with a headset that's cheaper. You could even just use earbuds. As long as you can hear who you're speaking to, then you're fine. One thing I do want to mention too with audio is if you're listening to a Skype call on speakers and you're trying to record it, a lot of times you'll get echo.
What?
Yeah, you'll get echo because the speakers will end up being picked up into your microphone. Your microphone will feed it back. You'll end up with this audio loop that ends up getting louder and louder and louder, and eventually it just yeah, so very important stuff. Of course, all of those work very well. Again, that might be a little bit of overkill. So
at the very least, if you're using a microphone, use an earbud. Even the cheapest earbud on the planet will do. What's your setup cost between for the mic, the camera, and the earbuds? You were like
all of it is less than $200 for everything. Yeah, of course the headset's overkill, so I'd recommend just earbuds for that. But yeah, around $200, and that would get you super started on podcasting, and you should be able to do whatever you want with videos and audio.
So much of doing a good, like even just doing a vlog where you're like, I have a webcam, I have a microphone, I have me. So much of that is actually making sure you don't have 4 hard walls around you, that you have some soft stuff to break up the audio so you don't sound like you're in the bottom of a well, and that you actually play around with some lighting so that you're amazing. Like that $55 webcam looks badass.
It does.
But it's going to look so much better if it's like if the window's behind you and the sun is up and you're a black outline, you either need to put curtains down or put a light in front of you.
Put a light in front of you.
And if you put a single lamp pointed at your face, then you're going to look like you're being interrogated by angry Soviets.
Or you might look like a ghost.
You might look like a ghost.
So I do daily tech news show from home sometimes when they invite me on the show. If you want to see a good example of what my setup looks like, there's my mic, and then I'm using my Logitech HD Pro webcam for this video. So it's DTNS 2413, also a really good show, so you guys should check that out.
Sounds awesome. Fabric sheets, by the way, are great for diffusion.
They're so cool.
And we got an email from Anthony who has some thoughts on password managers. Quote, I found an article on Lifehacker about password manager. Good source. One that caught my eyes was KeePass, because I don't like to use online password managers like LastPass, etc. I would rather something that keeps all offline and secure or local on my own flash drives or PC, and I think that KeePass will encrypt all my passwords in one database, which can then be accessed using a master password and or key file. I would be thankful if you could let me know if you guys think this is a secure offline program to meet my needs. Thanks. P.S. On a side note, what are those little red and white things that Shannon has beside her laptop on every episode? Anthony.
That's an awesome question. So these are actually arcade cabinet buttons that we use to switch the cameras. So as I press one, you'll see that it changes the camera. And I'll press it again, and it changes the camera again. Yeah, they're very cool. We'll probably do a whole segment on how these work in the future, but let me know if you want us to actually do a segment on that, because it might bore some of you. So KeePass is a definite yes. It's local, it uses good encryption, it is open source, and they do have a mobile version of it, so you can get it on mobile. It's a great option for password management, and it's free. And I've done reviews on it in the past on Hack5, like 5 years ago. So if you guys want to see an updated review on it with their new features, let me know. I'd be happy to provide that for you guys. And remember, I think that about wraps up this episode. So once in a while, put down your phone, step away from the screen, close your laptop, and do something analog like Jack, who emailed us, "Dear TekThing, love the show. Keep up the great work. Thanks for promoting doing something analog. My latest analog thing is cooking with Blue Apron. After hearing about it and thinking about it, finally my girlfriend got me a meal delivery for my birthday. I loved it and I'm hooked. Here's one of my latest creations. I'm the last person anyone would have thought would cook. At Christmas, as I was telling my family about some of the meals I have had recently, my sister said, 'Who are you and what have you done with my brother?' She isn't far off. After passing up drive-thrus and cooking for myself for about four months, I've lost 20 pounds. I'm a whole new person thanks to doing something analog and a little encouragement. I can't wait for the next episode. Thanks so much," from Jack in Denver, Colorado.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jack. That's awesome. So congratulations to you. That's incredible. I need to cook more. I don't cook. I burn things. I burn water.
You are very good with toast.
I'm Shannon Morse.
I'm Patrick Norton.
We'll see you next week on TekThing.
You rock Pop-Tarts.
I rock some Pop-Tarts with butter, but seriously, I've put tinfoil in a microwave once and almost burned the house down. I left the gas stove on once at my home, and then I woke up the next morning and said, "Why does it smell funny in here?" And I've burned water. I didn't know you could burn water.
You guys, we can start you with grilling, or we can start you. Salads? You want to start with
I'm
salads
really good with a crock pot. You just set it on low, and then you dump stuff in it, and then you leave it for the day.
Probably should put the stuff in it, then set it on low.
Well, yeah, you know.
And then go take
Just-
a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your favorite crock pot recipe?
Beef stew.
Old school. Do you
Oh, yeah.
brown it before you put it in the crock pot, or you just throw it in the
No,
crock pot? So
I
you go
just
for the
throw it in
total
there.
grayness.
Oh yeah.